Oh, hey, this is Rob Rosa. Hopefully, your favorite real estate broker and the person to hopefully give you the understanding to calm your fears. Don't get nervous. Don't start saying the sky is going to fall, right? I am here to let you know that we believe, meaning the experts, the caring people, the people who are experienced in real estate, we believe that the market, right, is not going to have a huge bubble burst, especially now, remember, don't go by what you hear on the news. I'm talking about Connecticut, central Connecticut, Eastern Connecticut, pretty much, but central Connecticut, not including Fairfield County. All right. Because, number one, I can tell you that, of course, there are inflation fears, right? There are recession fears, right? And buyers and sellers have been seeming to get pretty nervous about what's going on. In fact, did you know that last spring, right, about 45% of home sellers believed that the housing market was going to crash in 2022? And that's a National Association of Realtors statistic, right? That's what they believed, that the housing market was going to crash. And in 2022, believe me, it did not. This was a study actually from what they call Cleaver Real Estate. Also, Google Trends showed that there were a significant amount of spikes in the search of housing bubble, right? So doomsday fears are mounting, right? Hey, Redneck T-ville, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate everyone who is joining us and giving us likes. Doomsday fears of real estate are mounting, and I want to tell you, especially here in Central Connecticut. Now, we're going to go over some of the points about why should you be concerned, of course, but do you have to be nervous that it's going to fall apart? I can promise you, definitely not, my friends. Okay. You don't have to be nervous about that. Okay. Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. Now, are we in a housing bubble? Well, myself, I will say no, right? There's this gentleman, James McGrath, co founder of the New York based real estate brokerage, Your Evo. And he basically says that yes, there are concerns about a slowing economy and that it has and will continue to impact real estate. I mean, we know that they have increased the interest rates, right? So we know that this will affect real estate. Okay. However, we're not in bubble territory. While most home prices are seeming to be the highest they've ever been, right? It's definitely different than 2008. And I was in real estate back then, right? I was helping people in real estate in 2008, and I went through it. Okay. So here are some of the points that we want to make. Instead of a housing surplus like there was in 2008, you see, we had a lot of homes for sale in 2008. Well, instead of that happening, what's happened, right? We have a severe, and when I say the word severe, I wish I could find a better word than that. I wish that I can come up with an English word that will be even more so than severe. A severe industry shortage. Home builders put more than 2 million housing units a year into the pipeline in the years leading up to 2008. And they were overbuilding at that time. If you remember, even here in Connecticut, central Connecticut, we had all kinds of new subdivisions that were going up, right? We had all kinds of new building that was going up, right? And today is exactly the opposite. Drive around from Hartford and go 30 miles out. Do you see a lot of homes for sale? Maybe you, because this is a nationwide live that I'm doing it, probably worldwide, right? I mean, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are on YouTube, we are on TikTok, right? Maybe where you live, take a look from where you are and 30 miles out. Are they building a lot of homes? Are there too many homes for sale? You see, here in central Connecticut, there definitely is not. There's just not enough. And please feel free as we're going through this live to give me any likes, of course, to share it with people, and also to ask me any questions you want, because we can definitely go through that. Hey, Diane, thank you so much for joining us. Okay. So basically, today is the opposite. We have a severe inventory shortage, right? The country is still facing historically low inventory levels. There are very low rental vacancy rates when we're talking about residential. Okay. When we're talking about residential, for the most part, if it's priced correctly, and I'm not talking about a third floor that unit in a bad area that's priced $300 too high. I'm talking about a rental that's priced correctly. It's going to go quick, right? I can fill those up pretty darn quick, right? And so by having historically low inventory levels, low rental vacancy rates, not enough building, right? Underproduction of new homes. Well, guess what? This is some of the reasons why we have had surging home prices. Okay. So let me tell you, just to give you some information, and this is as of last year. The median price of an existing home was $407,600 in May of 2022. Right. This was the first time ever, and this is a significant number, that this figure went over $400,000 according to the National Association of Realtors data, right? The median price so of an existing home. So we're talking about, you take all the existing homes and this is the median. This is the medium, right? So of course, have some markets overheated? Yes. Possibly. There could be places like, for instance, in Phoenix, right, where they had over a 5% price correction over the last year. But that comes after a 50% price gain in the last 2 years. So think about your area, think about your town, think about your neighborhood. Do you know the price gains we have had? You're talking easily over 25% a year. It's been, the last couple of years. It's been kind of crazy. Hey, Candy, thank you so much for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Okay. So even if we did kind of have a price correction, it's not going to be a national housing market bubble. And this is even coming from the National Association of Realtors, where, hey, I want to calm your fears. Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, said even if there was or were to be a localized price correction, it will not cause harm to the overall housing market or the financial banking system, right? Technically, what it will be is a second chance opportunity to get into the market. Hey, Din, thank you so much for joining us. Get into the market. Here's your second chance after being outbid so much. Now, I can tell you right now, here in central Connecticut, you're still getting outbid. People don't necessarily believe it. Some buyers are not 100% sure, especially if, they're just getting to know me. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, listen, I am no lie making offers on homes almost every single day with some of my different buyers. And most of the time, it's a multiple offer situation. Almost all of the time, right here in central Connecticut, it's a multiple offer situation. Okay. So will we see home prices slow down in comparison year over year? Yes, we have been seeing that since September. Now, I haven't seen the January numbers yet, right? I haven't sat down and really gone over them, but I can tell you September of 2022 versus September of 2021. we were about 13% year over year price increase. October, we were about 9% year over year price increase, right? November, we were about 8.4%. And then December, I think, was 8%. So you can see over September, October, November, December, the year over year increase has gone slightly down. It's been slowing down. And I attribute a lot of this to the interest rates. I really do believe, since I think it was since March of last year, we've had 7 or 8 interest rate declines. I mean, interest rate increases, and that has made the decline happen. All right. So let's talk about if you're still worried, right? Let's talk about some things to consider, right? Because I want you to know I'm here for you. I have empathy. Hey, Buksa, thank you so much for joining us. D-Lynn, thank you so much. I'm here for you, to help you, to talk with you, to go over some of your fears, to make sure that you feel comfortable, right? And so again, please voice your fears. Let me know what you might have for questions for me. All right, so let's say number one, in comparison to 2008 housing crash, right? Now, there may have been some people, they saw the value of their home go down big time when that 2008 housing crash happened. Or maybe some people even lost their property to foreclosure. Okay. Many millennials who are watching this right now, they watch their parents struggle to keep up with mortgage payments. Some of those parents, they signed up for adjustable rate mortgages. Maybe they signed up for a mortgage where they really needed 2 people to pay for it, because I saw that happen. And then maybe the interest rate went too high for them. Maybe they got divorced. Maybe someone passed away out of the 2 parents. Maybe one of the parents lost a job. So their concerns, especially the millennials, right? Their concerns about a housing bubble 2.0, right, comes from a deep place, comes from down here. So I want you to know that I'm acknowledging that. I understand what you're going through. I'm here for you to talk about it, and that those feelings, I got to tell you, I don't always get so empathetic, right? But I'm trying to work on that. And I want to tell you that your feelings are legitimate, right? Hey, Coffee Mama, thank you so much for joining us, right? Bixa, thank you so much for joining us. So your feelings are legitimate if you're nervous, because you saw what happened in 2008. Now, basically, mortgages were structured quite differently in 2008, right? The whole subprime lending industry that was blamed now is much smaller. There's a lot more regulations, right? We see that all the time. The lenders and the regulators, they don't want to make the same mistakes that they made back in 2008 to lending to people who necessarily can't repay the mortgage, right? So right now, recently, I can tell you, many people's credit scores, they have to be higher, right? I can tell you that there's much less adjustable rate mortgages, right? Because people are not going for those necessarily, and people see what happened with those. And my feeling is, and this is not from National Association of Realtors or some of these things that I'm looking at, is that I have seen over the last month, here we are, it's February 2023, the last month or two, it feels like the banks, like the mortgagees, they are making it just a little bit harder on getting a mortgage, right? They're looking at things more closely. They're asking for more explanations. They want to know, okay, so I see that you didn't pay your cell phone bill 7 years ago. You were 1 month late. Can you give us an explanation as to why? And some of my buyers are like, are you kidding me? But it feels like they are really making sure that they understand who they're lending to. Another point, like we discussed, housing inventories remain low. The nation is roughly 3 million homes short of meeting buyer demand, Freddie Mac estimates, right? NAR, the National Association of Realtors, they've called for a once in a generation response to the supply crisis. Okay, about 1.2 million single family housing starts are predicted for this year, 2023. And this is still far from the 2 million plus in the early 2000s. So you see, really, when it comes down to it, there are no plans to build a lot more houses as we need to. And so this housing inventory crisis could remain an issue for years to come. So this is still an issue. I mean, I can tell you, I've talked to some builders. I have 3 lots for sale that are approved building lots here in Marlborough, Connecticut. They're beautiful. They're in a great area. You know, you're not too far from the highway, but you're far enough where you probably can't hear it. I mean, it's, you know, a couple of miles. You're close to shopping. You're close to some restaurants and so forth. And I've talked to some builders about it. And they say they can't afford to build right now, or it's too risky for them, or they can't get the lending for the construction. Hey, Ricky. Hey, Neil. Thank you so much for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Okay. So that's a big issue as far as builders. Now, buying demand, guess what? It's not done. Right? Right now, still, and I'm happy to say this, is that it is still considered a top accomplishment. It is something that people want to aspire to achieve. Even more so, according to some of our surveys, more than getting a successful job, getting married, having a baby, or traveling is purchasing a house, according to a Grand Canyon University survey. There is still too much demand and too little inventory. Okay. So yes, has affordability of these homes taken a little bit of a hit? Of course it has, because higher interest rates, but guess what? People still want to buy homes. People still understand how important it is to have a home of your own, to work hard all day long or whatever it might be, do your thing, go to school, get what you need to get accomplished, and then to be able to go home to your family, right? Into your own home. Hey, Ricky, Charlene, thank you so much for joining us. Real estate is and can be a hedge against inflation. Okay. So what's happening every year? Well, I can tell you almost every single year, rental prices, they are notching up. I don't see rental prices going down for anything, right? So with renting, do you get the ability to build equity? Are you building any kind of wealth? No. In fact, your rental rates are going up every year. Hopefully, not as much as your income, right? Inflation is making everything more expensive. You know, even to buy a dozen eggs, you see what it's all about. So, buying your own home, getting that 30-year fixed mortgage is definitely a hedge against inflation. Now you might be like, oh, Rob, what are you talking about? Do you think I'm going to take on a 30-year commitment? Well, you don't have to take on a 30-year commitment. You can get this money from the bank and you can pay it off the next day if you want to. You see, the bank, the lender is giving you up to 30 years to pay. But the more you make extra payments, the more you pay down the principal, what are you doing? You're building up equity. Now, I'm not going to get into all the financial aspects of it because I'm not a financial advisor. But even if I had 3 financial advisors sitting here with me, they could possibly all give you this different advice. So what do you do? Maybe if you were able to get a mortgage with a 2.5 or 3.5 or 4.5% interest rate, do you pay off the home with all the money that you can to cut down on the amount of money that you're paying? for interest? Or do you say, well, you know what? If I invest, and this might be your thing, and that's okay. If I invest in the stock market, I know how to make at least 12% interest. So if my return on my investment, so if my interest rate is 4% on my home, right? I'm not going to pay off my home early. I'm going to take my extra money and I'm going to use it to make 12% a year. And 12% minus 4% of your mortgage rate is 8% return on your investment. You can look at it that way, but it depends on so many different things. There are some people that say, pay it off. Be done with it. Be 100% debt free. And then there's other financial advisors who would say that I would not suggest that. So go with what you feel comfortable. Talk to a couple of different professionals and go with what you are comfortable with so that you can stay calm with any type of bubble fears. Be prepared, my friends. Okay. A market correction, that's probably where we're at, is not the same as a crash. Yes, the housing market is slowing down, but there's no expectation, especially in areas like here we are, Central Connecticut, that it's going to be comparable to the 2007, 2009 global financial crisis where everything's falling apart, everybody's all nervous and all that kind of good stuff. You know, there are some places maybe over the last year, and who knows what, I can't give you the specifics. It might be some places in California, some areas in Florida, some areas in Texas, some areas in Arizona where home prices have dropped dramatically, right? And so you know that if that's where you're living. But I can tell you for the most part, especially here in Central Connecticut, we're not seeing that, right? We're not seeing home prices drop 30, 40%. Okay. Well, let's talk lastly, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate you. If you can give me some likes, if you like the information I'm going with, that would be great. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask me. Let's talk about home buying costs. Yes, home buying costs have increased. And they say on average about $800 every month last year due to higher mortgage rates and home prices, right? We know that because the home prices were up and because the interest rates were up, they averaged out to be about $800 a month. And that's according to Nadia Evangelou, National Association of Realtors, senior economist and director of forecasting, right? The 30-year fixed mortgage, it's probably gone up about 3-4%, right? So rising interest rates and buyer fatigue from bidding wars have caused the market to stabilize, right? You see, we are still, the market's not going crazy. We still have some buyers. We still can sell at a pretty good price, right? It has to be right for the market. When we're selling, we have to be prepared that it's a changing market. So we have to be realistic with our expectations and we have to be patient, right? So that's, my friend, what I wanted to share with you. Please. Hey, Hidden. Hey, Dart. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, MJD. Thank you so much for joining us. Any likes or comments you have are definitely appreciated. That's what I wanted to share with you when we talk about staying calm with bubble fears. And just to give you a really quick recap so that you feel comfortable is that, right now we're not dismissing any fears. We understand your fears are legitimate, especially those millennials who went through it and saw their parents go through it. That mortgages are structured different, right? The subprime market is much more different than it was. Housing inventories are still remaining very, very low, right? There's still not a lot of houses for sale. Buyer demand is still there. It hasn't gone away. Buying real estate can be a hedge against inflation if you use it the right way. And please remember that a market correction is not the same as a crash. So with that in mind, I do want to tell you again, I do have my complimentary book available for you. All you need to do is go in the bio or send me a comment and we'll get it over to you. At the same time, I am always available for questions that you might have when it comes to real estate. I'd love to be able to talk with you. If you're in Connecticut, sit down for a cup of coffee and discuss things, or maybe on video, a video call. If you're outside of Connecticut and you need some help, we can definitely talk, because I do have a nationwide service of colleagues that I can trust. So that's everything I have for you today. Happy Thursday, everyone. I look forward to talking with you soon. God bless you. And this is Rob Rosa, hopefully your favorite real estate broker, signing out, and we'll talk to you soon.